Cool, I'm good.
Cool. Well, I guess first, Mr. Buck, how is it to be back in Colorado and on break?
It is great to be in God's country. It's great to be away from the swamp for a little while.
And I guess you hit on the swamp immediately, and we all saw your op-ed in the Post on Monday, and so I guess we kind of wanted to just ask about that. What's the motivation for coming out in that fashion?
I think the American people gave us a great opportunity with Republican control of the House, the Senate, and the Oval Office, and I think we've got to make sure we pass legislation to continue to earn that trust. And we're not doing that. We have to do it on health care. We have to do it on tax reform. We have to improve our immigration system. We have to do a lot of things, and we've really got to get going on those things. And I'm hoping that my op-ed really gets people motivated and thinking about how do we move forward and solve problems.
And it was kind of interesting that came out on the same day that the excerpt from Jeff Flake's books came out, where he's talking about Trump. You're talking about conservatism. Is Trump doing anything to harm the conservative faction of the Republican Party?
Yeah, my op-ed focused on Congress, and I think that's, if Congress was passing bills, I think the president would sign those bills. This is a very pragmatic president. He's looking for a win. He's not trying to micromanage how the healthcare solution comes out. He's trying to get a healthcare solution. And we can continue to work on it, but we have to take that first step. Nobody pretended that the House bill was perfect or that the Senate bill would be perfect, but until we start down the path of reforming a broken health insurance system, we're never going to know what exactly we need to do.
And so, as we progress through Congress, I know we're coming up on some big issues over the next month once you guys get back, with the debt ceiling, tax reform. How does Congress, I guess, get past some of this divisiveness and get something done on those issues?
Yeah, I think it's going to require our leadership, Paul Ryan in particular, Mitch McConnell in particular, setting a vision and energizing and motivating people to follow that vision. It's not going to come with some threat from the White House or anywhere else. It's really, people are going to be motivated because they see positive change.
And so, as your district went heavily Trump. You've run away with the past couple of elections, and there hasn't been a Democrat in your district since Cory Gardner took it in 2010. So you're in a state Republican district, and I was talking to Mike Kaufman earlier today, actually, and he's not in quite such a safe zone. So how does that differentiate whenever you're in a district where it's, he won by 23% over Clinton versus somebody who has to make more concessions to the left and the moderates and stuff?
Yeah, I think Mike Kaufman's a principled person, and I think he's going to understand when something is good for the country, he can come back to his district and make sure folks understand why it's good for the country. So I don't question that Mike is trying to just act to do what is politically expedient. He has a vision. It's a clear vision. He is a veteran, an Iraq war veteran, and I think he has the backbone and really the connection with the people in his district to be able to do the right thing in his district.
So with your op-ed, you say the GOP is dead, but is it really dead, or is it just dead for the time being and needs to be revived back to its core values?
I think what I was trying to portray was that the soul of the Republican Party is dead, that there are too many Republicans who are running on less spending, less government, less federal government interference, a lower regulatory burden on business, and then when they get to DC, they don't follow through on those promises. And I think it's important, because that's why I think the people gave the Republican Party a unified government, was to solve those issues.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that it's Congress or the White House or just everybody involved right now that's not making that happen?
Well, this is on Congress. If we want to assert our Article I authority under the Constitution, if we want to be truly the legislative branch, we need to start legislating. And we're not doing enough of the things that the American people expect us to do.
And do you think that, is the Senate and the House at sort of an impasse right now with you know, you guys have been able to pass some things that the Senate has failed on. Does somebody have the ball in their court as to sort of bring this Congress together?
Well, I think that the health care bill that was sent from the House to the Senate has now failed. And something has to originate again in the House. And yet we have tax reform and we have other issues to deal with. So at some point, I think the House is going to have to revive health care, send it to the Senate again, and hope for a better result in the Senate.
Do you worry with some of these deadlines coming up that, you know, some of this, you know, back and forth and disagreements, even amongst your party, is that going to further delay some of these necessary things that need to happen?
I anticipate that we will have another continuing resolution, the same way we've been running government for decades now, at the end of September, to keep government open. And I anticipate that we will pass appropriations bills in a combined form, either 3 or 4 bills or one large bill that will fund government. But I don't anticipate that we will have a government shutdown at this point. I think that Republicans will come together and figure out a way to fund the government and keep the government moving.
Are there any efforts to bring Democrats on with this? I mean, I know you guys can obviously do pretty much anything if you can get all the Republicans on board in each chamber of Congress. But, you know, how do Democrats factor into this current Congress and when the White House and Congress are both held by Republicans?
So I have written about the fact that we need to have a more open process than we have. We need to include Democrats. We need to hold more hearings in America. People have an expectation that health care should be at this level, but the American public is only willing to pay for health care at this level. And that difference is something that just doesn't work. So we need to have an honest conversation, not just about the Affordable Care Act, but about Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and so many other areas, our defense budget. How do we defend our vital interests and spend less money and do it more efficiently? Those are all conversations that need to be public conversations, not held in secret in some room in Washington, D.C.
And with, you know, President Trump taking to Twitter sometimes to even threaten Republicans on some legislation, you know, is that having an effect on you guys in Congress?
No.
No? Not at all?
Not at all.
Okay. And so moving forward, what do you want to do to, you know, help revive the party?
As I said, I think we need to have a principled person set a vision and energize, motivate members of Congress to follow that vision. I think we had a vision in 2016 when we ran for office, and I think we've got to start fulfilling the promises that we've made.
And you have obviously like 3 Democrat challengers right now. I don't think you have a Republican primary challenger yet, but how does that factor into, you know, legislating whenever people are having to campaign every single 2 years again?
I love retail politics. I love going out and meeting people and listening to their concerns and talking about what's getting done in Washington, D.C. So I am not running against anybody. I am running for re-election, and I'm running to let people know what my record is, and it's just up to the voters whether they want to re-elect me.
One more thing. I know you had some town halls over the weekend.
Yes.
What were people talking about there? What was the biggest sense of urgency that you got from people at those town halls?
You know, I think a lot of people are concerned. They're concerned about health insurance in this country. They're concerned about the tax burden and the regulatory burden. They're concerned about North Korea and Iran. So there are many concerns that have been expressed to me, and I really appreciate when I show up and 50 people take a Saturday morning in Sterling, Colorado to spend it with me. It's really special that they care that much about their country that they're willing to engage with their elected officials.
Okay, cool. Anything else?
That's great.
All right.